Hi everyone, my name is Mark and welcome back to my channel, Visual Scriptures. This channel is a place where I combine my love for God and my passion for filmmaking together. If you caught my last video, you would know that we recently had the biblical festival of Passover, which is a very significant festival for all of God's people, both Jews and Christians. The festival commemorated Israel being set free from slavery in Egypt and for Christians, slavery to sin. The next biblical festival, which I have covered in a past video, is Shavuot, or Pentecost, which commemorates God's people receiving His commandments on Mount Sinai, and for the early Christians receiving the Holy Spirit in Jerusalem. Between these two festivals, God's people would traditionally deliberately count a 49-day period between the second night of Passover and the holiday of Shavuot. This was known as counting the Omer, Omer meaning sheaf, as in biblical times the Israelites would bring the first sheaves of their harvest to the temple to thank God for the harvest. Why count the days between? Well, apart from the fact that God's people would not want to miss His holy appointment, and so they would keep count, both the festivals of Passover and Shavuot are inextricably linked. The counting, in short, would remind God's people of this link and the meaning of these two festivals. Rabbi Jill Jacobs explains, while Passover celebrates the initial liberation of the Jewish people from slavery in Egypt, Shavuot marks the culmination of the process of liberation when the Jews became an autonomous community with their own laws and standards. Counting up to Shavuot reminds us of this process of moving from a slavery mentality to a more liberated one. So when looking at it, one of the focuses of these two festivals and the period between is identity. I think identity is a problem that many of us struggle with, myself included. Many of us root our identity solely in things we shouldn't. The easiest way to explain what I mean is to think about what you do when you meet someone new. Often the first things you will say when introducing yourself would be your name, where you're from, and what you do for a living, your career. The unfortunate reality is that in today's individualistic consumer economy, our identity is often rooted in our career, our wealth, social status, and for some, in public image and social media status. What's the problem with this? Well, firstly, all of these things, like with most things on this earth, are not permanent and can change very quickly. People can lose their jobs, wealth, and social status, and public image and social media status can change in an instance, with your followers loving your content one day and hating it the next. Because of this, rooting your identity in these things can have very serious negative consequences for your mental health. Losing your job can quite literally derail the way you see yourself and your place in this world. There's a reason why the book of Ecclesiastes pretty much says that everything on this earth is meaningless. There's no point to spend your whole life pursuing the things of this earth. As another example, in placing your identity in your career, your self-worth quickly becomes directly tied to what you can bring to the table. How many sales you can make, how much more money you can make the company, how much overtime hours you can do, how many original ideas you can think of. That can quickly result in a lot of stress, anxiety, and self-esteem issues. That is not what determines your worth, however. The second problem with rooting your identity in these things is that it can seriously undermine what God intended for you. You see, I'm not saying that it is bad if you identify yourself based on your career, age, gender, nationality, or sports team. Some people have a specific calling based on these things. Instead, what I mean is, it is a problem when you primarily base your identity on these things. It is a problem when you replace your true identity with these things. What is your identity? Well, it's quite simple. You are a child of God. There are so many Bible verses talking about this, including Isaiah 43 verse 1, Romans 8, 14 to 15, Psalm 139 verse 1, 1 Peter 2, 9. The list goes on and on. One of my favorites is Psalm 139, where David goes on to describe how we are so fearfully and wonderfully made and put together by God, and how that even before we were formed, He knew us. And that is precisely what your identity should be, first and foremost. Something that is unchanging and undeniable, something that is true regardless of whether you lose your job or social media followers. Everything else, our jobs, nationalities, gender, our past, our mistakes, that is all secondary to this. So, just as the Israelites and early Christians had a period of time in which they would shift their mindset from being slaves to being set free, we too should shift our mindset from being whatever we have rooted our identity in and realize that we are God's children first. So, next time you meet someone new, how about you introduce yourself not as an accountant, a teacher, a retail worker, a lawyer, but rather as a child of God. Because everything on this earth can change, but you being a child of God cannot. I hope you found this video beneficial. I do encourage you to think about what you base your identity on. I think that many of us have based it on our jobs, and our past and our mistakes and so on. But we are so much more than those things. We are children of God. Please be sure to give this video a like and hit subscribe if you haven't for more videos like this one. And share this video with people you think might benefit from it. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, stay safe. Bye.